suffocates, whisper in the hall, where justice wears a mask and truth begins to fall. Every thread they pull, every lie they weave, in the courtroom's dance, who's left to believe? Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight. A photograph fades where the truth once stood. Blurred lines between the bad and the good. The scales they tilt with every silver tongue, while the broken cry for a song unsung. Black robes sway like shadows on the wall. One wrong word and the mighty fall. Who's a sinner? Who's a saint? The jury's out, but the verdict's faint. Oh, the devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end. The devil's in the details, hiding in plain sight, innocent until the gavel steals the light. True crime echoes through the hollow night, fighting injustice with no end in sight.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to know why I'm here today? It's not because I want to give you a pep talk or because I want to make you feel good about yourselves. No, I'm here to tell you the truth.
That is hilarious. I have got to stop doing that. Like that. I just monkey around. I'll just fumble fuck myself through a bunch of bananas. That was crazy. I don't know what the hell I'm going on. But everybody got a sneak peek of my backstage guests. Well, some of them at least. Joe State of the Deep was backstage as well. You did get to see Robin for a second. You got to see 1-1 for a second. It was so good that 1-1 wasn't scratching his nuts at the moment. That would have been really embarrassing for him and for me. But anyways, fortunately, we did not catch him with his hands in the wrong place. Yes, I'm inappropriate. That's why I have a parental advisory warning. You should know by now there's a reason why we call this Crimes After Dark, because it is not a family-oriented show. I will try to be a little light on the F-bombs, at least until we get a few minutes into the show, so that YouTube doesn't spank us for like, you have excessive F-bombs in the first 30 seconds, and that tells us that we should not show it to anybody. Anyways, thank you for spending your evening with us tonight. I know there's lots of things going on and you could be doing other things and watching other shows. So I love the fact that you are here. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I got some really cool stuff to talk about tonight. So I hope it'll pay off for you and that you will like what you have to, what you hear tonight, because I think we got some cool shit to talk about. Penny got to be first tonight. Penny and Amanda race each other. I swear every single night. Penny got the honors tonight. Essie's right behind. Amanda B, thanks for coming in. Essie as well, always. And we've got a bunch of the regulars that are here, just kind of scrolling through. There was a lot of conversation back and forth. Robin, of course, is backstage. Troubled Ocean from Florida. Rhonda, the wife, the she-devil in the next room, literally in the house. Next door as well. We've got, who else do we have in here? Lots of names that I recognize, so it's super cool. And of course, as people are coming in, by the way, always let me know a shout out where you're from, because I love to not only say who your name is, but where you're from. Spotty Ash, 1834, what's up? Thanks. That's kind of a newer name. I'm not super sure if I've seen it a bunch of times. Extraterrestrial Highway, welcome. Curious Cat, very regular. Donna Tyner, is it Tyner? Welcome. Hello. Margaret, 18851. I keep wanting to do 1851, but it's not. There's an extra number in there. So hello. Thanks for coming in. Just trying to show some Dina sites, regular. Thanks to the Den family, the Denizens, as we sometimes call them. Cats Mojo, regular as well. 1-1, of course, backstage in the house. Who else do we have? State of the Jeep. I told you Joe is backstage as well. Yeah, so we got Dusty Day, Mississippi. Dusty Day from Mississippi. Thanks for sharing your location. Margaret from New York City, where Luigi Mangione is facing suppression hearings. And the Long Island serial killer case that I covered from New York City. Welcome in. And of course, 1-1, we got backstage NYPD. So cool. New York is heavily represented tonight. Let's see who else we have. Pinto Sack, yo, DA, welcome. Thanks for saying hi. I know I'm not looking anybody in the eyes when I'm talking about it because my screen is over there with all the names and I'm way off camera. But anyways, why I think you get it. Hopefully you'll get it. Wonder Woman 82 in England, Lisa in England. Very cool. Awesome. Thank you so much. I love international community. It's so cool having an international community. We got Donna from North Carolina. Very, very cool. Lee for president. That's not a bad idea. Wouldn't that be cool? I don't think I don't think I have enough U.S. history in me. Although I did ace a political sci course. So maybe I don't know. I did ace a poli sci course. But anyways, what else? Ange K Crime. Welcome. You made it. Fantastic. Awesome. I hope that you will enjoy what we're going to talk about tonight. The Matt Morgan 76, Karen AL from Virginia, is that right? DA, and hello DA in chat. Welcome. Let's see. You stay up to watch DA from UK. Nice. Thank you so much. That's awesome. I wonder what time is it in the UK right now. Anyways, maybe you'll throw that out sometime. Open your peepers as well. Wade Bird 77. Hello. Thank you very much. Okay, we're pretty much caught up. Let's bring our panelist on stage after you've already seen sneak previews of all of them. I'll get the parental advisory off of Joe's face. I'll get the maybe I'll even take this. Maybe I'll take the chat off of 1-1's face. We'll see. Yeah. So anyways, how are you guys doing tonight? Robin, let's start with you. I got to unmute your microphones. Looks like I got all of you muted. So let me unmute you. Robin, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much. Good to see you, Lee. And of course, 1-1 and Joe. Always glad to see you guys and be here with you. Thanks for coming out, everyone. And remember to like the video and just good to be here.
I'm super stoked, I got to tell you, because there was a part of me that thought, oh, our numbers are going to crush. We got some other people doing some big things and whatever. And I don't even want to speak that into existence. I'm blessed to have what we have here tonight. So thank you guys for choosing us as well. State of the Deep, Joe, how are you doing? It's been a little while since, I mean, not terribly long, but it's good to see you. What's going on in your world?
What's up, DA? What's up, Robin? What's up, 1-1? What's up, Denizens? I'm good, man. Just been busy with some stuff. It's getting busier here where I live because of the winter season starting. We're getting some snow, and I've been busy with some, working on some stuff for myself, and I just barely made it here on time tonight, man. It's snowing, and I bolted out of work, and it's a roll of the dice because I live near the interstate. And there's only one, that's the only way to get between Vail and where I live. So it's like a really tight thing if you get an accident on the highway when it's snowing, how it is, DA.
Yeah.
So
I used to,
that,
yeah, I used to live and work in Seattle. So if whenever, you know, what's, by the way, as an aside, in Seattle, you hear it rains all the time in Seattle. When it rains, there are car wrecks everywhere. It's like, how are you living in Seattle where supposedly it rains all the time? And if it gets water on the road, everyone's in a wreck, and you might as well just say, well, that it took me 5 hours to get home tonight because there was rain. Like, you should know how to drive in rain. But anyways, crazy thing.
yeah. Well, I made it. Here I am.
Nice. Nice. Well, thanks for your dedication for coming in. And if you ever, you know, I expected you a little late tonight, so it was a pleasure to see that you're on time. So that's very cool. And I'm glad that you are, because I have some cool things I wanted to share with you that you may or may not be aware of. And I was hoping to, like, do I have to stall on this for like 30 minutes until Joe gets on, or do I just go with it? So now you just get to go with it. How about one? I know you're over your sickness. You've got new toys in the house. How are you doing?
Over. Yes. Good evening, everyone.
Are
Nice
you
to
on
see
your
you.
new laptop?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Probably
Okay.
maybe tomorrow. It arrived today, but yes, I'm looking forward to that.
I was
So,
meaning to ask you if you have dual monitors, because we got great reflections on your glasses. Let me tell you this: you better never sneak into some little naughty stuff on the side, because we will be watching all of it through your eyes. I promise you that. Do not try to sneak in a little something on the side, or everyone's going to be watching what you're watching and pausing it and zooming in and going, "Did you see what one was like? Like midgets and hamsters 101? What the hell is that?" So you better be careful.
all right. So I got my two lines I got to plug every night for us. Is it good to be alive in the den on a Wednesday night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Live from New York, it's Wednesday night.
I love it. I love it. Live from the West Coast doesn't have quite the same ring as live from New York, Saturday Night Live. So, anyways, it's great to see everybody, and always looking for tiggle bitties on those glasses, Brian Todd. I'm saying that's what I'm saying. Like one, you gotta get a little better viewing habits, because I want to watch the show. I mean, I would think that would be hysterical. But yeah, anyway, so I keep waiting for you to slip up on it. Unfortunately, you have not done that. But I thought I'd make sure you're aware, that we can all see it, just in case you weren't quite aware. Like, don't play poker with those glasses, or we're all going to know your hand and everything else.
Yeah, they're super mirror sunglasses. So
they are. All right, let me pull up some. I really struggle with I can't wait till you get so big that you're like, and we'll never be this big, but so big that you're like Rogan, where you're like, hey Jamie, put that up on screen for me, where I don't even have to do anything more. I can just tell people what I want, and it just happens to magically appear. That'll be a cool moment for us when we get to that point. But anyways, until then, we'll do it the old-fashioned way. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Yes,
that's right.
Way back in the day. And yes, as Birdie says, boy, you just really beat shit to death once you come up with a funny slogan. Yeah, I do. I like to ride funny slogans as long as I possibly can. So anyways, so what do we got going on? My case is, in case you don't know this channel, but hopefully you do, that's why you're here. I am the devil's advocates. I play devil's advocates with mainstream media narratives. I really look for high profile cases where the presumption of innocence is being taken away from the person, and you're being told how you should feel about the accused before they ever step foot in the courtroom. That's usually point number one, why if it's a high profile case and the media wants to tell you that the person is guilty before they ever had their first day, chances are I'm paying attention to that case. I also look for sadly enough, with NYPD in the house, I look for police corruption cases. I have a real hard on for police corruption cases.
Hey, remember, I got your DNA.
I know. Fortunately for me, the thing that I say is what one says as well, is that even good cops don't like bad cops. So when we are complaining about some shady tactics in police departments, even good cops aren't fond of bad cops. So of course, there's a difficulty there. And by the way, for those who don't know, one, while he's NYPD, never represents NYPD. He is here on his own volition. Part of the reason why he's behind sunglasses isn't just because he thinks he's so cool he has to wear shades, but because we're kind of giving him a little anonymity, and he does not represent. His views are not the views of NYPD, and you should never take it as such. We just simply rely on his infinite wisdom of actually making arrests and doing Terry frisks and doing stops and stuff like that, on what officers would normally go through and what they see and why they deal with the things they do and how they deal with it. And it sheds lights and informs our cases more often than you think. So once again, one, thank you so much for what you lend to the show. It's been a pleasure having you on. I know it's going to be something we're going to continue for a long time.
Yep.
All right, so let's talk about my 5 cases. The 5 cases I cover, and my format usually be to try to cover at least 3 of them. Idaho 4, yeah, we're still talking about Idaho 4. I say it all the time. I got big stuff to talk about in Idaho 4, in my opinion. We're going to talk about something big I've got going on. We're going to talk about something big Pavarotti said recently. Yeah, we do talk about other creators. I watch other creators as well. I'm not going to try to steal anything from other creators. I think we should all be working together. I think that we should all pocket our egos a little bit and be able to say, hey, look, so-and-so had a good point today. And that's what I'm going to point out is Pavarotti had a great point today, and I'm going to expand on it a little bit more than what he did. So hopefully you'll appreciate that a little bit, and nobody run off to Pavarotti and say, oh my God, Devil's Advocate just stole your shit. No, I'm going to give him full credit. I'm even going to put his face on the fucking slide so you can know that it came from Pavarotti. So there you go. The point being is that I want to talk about it, though, because I think he had something great. Charlie Kirk, we're going to talk about Charlie Kirk and the Tyler Robinson situation, the alleged shooter of Charlie Kirk. We're going to talk about some cool shit there as well. We're going to talk a little bit about Luigi Mangione. We're going to put Lisk and Mickey Steins on hold. I know a lot of you are like, every single week you put Mickey Steins on hold. Well, there's not anything happening there too much. I do have paperwork in the works, though. I'm trying to find out about a mysterious death of Jennifer Hill, who just died during the trial of Sean Mickey Stein's deputy, who was on trial for some horrible thing, and one of the people testifying against him just died. That's it. Reported in the news. They just died, so the case is dropped. And I was like, oh no, we don't, homie, don't play that. We don't just go with you just died and don't explain why you died. So I'm putting in requests to get that paperwork to figure out how they died, because that stinks right off the bat on that kind of case. So let's talk about Idaho for a little bit and what I did today. So I've been saying, and other people have been saying, I don't know how we all got on the same wavelength. I don't know if we all put on the same tinfoil hat today and just kind of synced up our brainwaves or what, but there has been several creators who all at the same time said what I said. I think it's maybe time to start thinking about suing us, Idaho or Moscow Police Department, for some of the things that happened in this case. And so I have started the ball. Lana, I know from Truth and Transparency, has said that she's going to do the same thing. I know Phoenix Talks has talked about doing the same thing. It would be nice. I think it would be nice if we could all talk to each other and kind of come up with hey, what are you working on, or what are you working on, and can we coordinate or work together? But since I'm not hearing from them, and it doesn't mean that they're ignoring me or think I'm an asshole. Maybe they don't even know I'm reaching out, but I've been reaching out to them. I'm going to show you what I did. I'm going to show everyone what I did so that they can go, oh, that's what DA did. Maybe I don't need to waste my time duplicating what he just did, or maybe they will. So let me show you what I did today. I wrote 3 letters today. This is the first one on screen. This letter is to the Moscow Police Department. Attention, Chief of Police Anthony Dallinger from Moscow PD and their P.O. Box. Now, this is not a surprise. It's coming certified mail. They have to sign for it, and they're going to have to give me the receipts. I paid good money to send this letter to Moscow PD, to the Idaho State Police Corporal, and to the city attorney in Moscow, Idaho. They all got a copy of this letter. Let me read it to you, what it says. Subject: request for official explanation regarding conflicting statements about early identification of Brian Kohberger. Dear Chief Dallinger, I am submitting this correspondence as a formal request for clarification and administrative review regarding a significant discrepancy discovered in publicly available records involving Corporal Brett Payne and the early identification of Brian Kohberger. Background: during sworn testimony, Corporal Payne repeatedly stated that the first time he, and by extension Moscow Police Department, learned about Brian Kohberger was on December 19th, 2022, when the FBI provided it. However, Idaho State Police Forensic Services evidence submission records show that on December 5th, 2022, Moscow Police Department submitted evidence paperwork listing Brian Kohberger as a suspect, as well as one additional yet still unredacted name. I'm attaching the following documents for your review: a copy of the sworn testimony transcript from Corporal Payne, where he said we just heard about Brian Kohberger for the first time on the 19th. I'm paraphrasing, I'm adding some words there. And 2, the ISP Forensic Services evidence submission receipt showing that Brian Kohberger's name was on there on December 5th. Again, I'm adding a little bit of wording there for your clarification. Request for explanation. Given the contradictory nature of these records, I respectfully request an official written explanation of 1, how Moscow PD came to list Brian Kohberger as a suspect on December 5th, how this aligns with the conflicts with Corporal Payne sworn testimony given under oath. 3, whether an internal review, correction, or clarification has been initiated or completed. 4, whether the December 5th suspect designation was known to Corporal Payne at the time of his testimony. And 5, additionally, I would like to request the name of the second suspect known shown as redacted on the December 5th report, or cite the reason why that additional suspect remains under seal. This inconsistency has substantial implications for public confidence in the accuracy of sworn statements made by law enforcement. I request a written response with reasonable time frame of 30 days. Thank you for your time. And there's my name and there's my contact. And a copy is going to the city attorney of Moscow, Mila Batista, as well as Idaho State Police Director Colonel Bill Gardner. So there you go. There's my step. There's my first step, people. And so I encourage you to help out with this effort. That went certified mail. They have to sign for it. They have to prove that they got the letter, so they can't ignore that they didn't get it. Because Idaho is known for playing games and saying, well, we didn't get your letter or whatever. So I'm putting a little pressure on. I'm not going to get Christmas cards this year from Moscow. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get Christmas cards from anybody in Idaho. And I'm going to probably ruffle some feathers, and they're going to be, who's this asshole who's demanding that we give them answers, because we don't have to give him dick. And that's going to be their answer. I almost guarantee you their answer is going to be, we don't have to give you dick. We're not going to explain anything. To which you have to take it to the next level, and you have to submit to the state attorney general that you have asked for these records and they're required by law to provide it, and they're stonewalling you. So that's where I expect it's going to go, but we'll see. We're giving them the benefit of the doubt. And by the way, I don't mean to be an ass when I do this. When you go into a court of law, right, the defense and the prosecution can be seen as enemies, but they're just doing a job. That defense attorney is just simply trying to pressure the state to do it right, and that's all I'm doing as well. So it's nothing personal. I just want them to explain the discrepancy so that we can understand how it is. So they may view me as an asshole. That's on them to think that. All I'm doing is I'm doing what an attorney should do, or what anybody would do, which is basically to say, I respectfully ask for the explanation. Don't take it personally. Just answer the question. So we'll see what happens on that.
They're going to think you're stalking them, DA, because they've got your license plate. You pulled right into their parking lot.
Yeah.
That's somewhat true. That's somewhat true. All right. So I hope that that gets circulated a little bit. I hope that you guys, if anybody in here is friends with Lana or Phoenix who have also stated that they're doing something similar, let them know what DA is up to. Let's see if they're willing to take a look at it. If we're duplicating efforts, maybe they can say, hey, DA, well, I've already done that or whatever. Here's the thing. And I don't think that they're doing this, so don't take this the wrong way. I hope that we all don't have to be told to pocket our egos. We should all be working for the same thing. So I realize everyone wants to be the person who pushed back on Moscow or pushed back on Idaho and broke the case so that you can go, look at me, I did this. And I get that. Everybody wants to be that person. However, at the end of the day, we all just want to know what happened. And so therefore, if we can put our heads together and share what we've got and not waste each other's time and work together, it's better for everyone in the long run, in my opinion. So I hope that we will consider doing that and not be like all proprietary with our attack methods or whatever you want to call it, our pressure, if you will, so that we can try to get to the answers in unison rather than I got to it first, neener, and you can go suck a wiener, something like that. So I've got a way with words sometimes. Before we get on to the Pavarotti thing, do you guys want to comment on my, did I just sign my death wish? What do you guys think about the letter that I wrote today?
No, you got a ways to go before that happens. I think it's a great letter, and it's a great way to get their attention. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, more people follow suit. You know,
I'm curious to see the response that they give. I mean, because along with all the ridiculous redactions and stuff, which I don't remember the name of the judge, but the recent lawsuit that all the families, not the most recent lawsuit, but the lawsuit that the Chapins and some of them filed to try to hide all the information, saying that it's a detriment and we shouldn't be allowed to see it. That pretty much opened the door, and that magistrate, like I said, I don't have the name off the top of my head right now. Basically, that kind of backfired in their face, because that forced the judge to make a decision on a whole bunch of other stuff, like we are allowed to see Dylan's room. We are allowed to see a whole bunch, basically most of the body camera footage that they revealed, other than what the bodies, directly the bodies, and I think he said the immediate blood, that's connected to them. But anything else, we're allowed to see. So a lot of all these like body camera videos with redactions and sounds cut out and all that, they really have to go back and they have to re-release all this. The same thing with the documents. So you got all this stuff, and then on top of that, along with you and some of these other creators, I mean, to come back and to give a response to you guys and say that you have to pay $20,000 or $100,000. It's I mean, how is that?
Right.
How is that even? I understand, these are like city employees or state employees or whatever. That there might be some kind of some kind of fee. You can't expect everything to just be free, but I think they're a little over the top by what they're asking for.
And my research tells me they're not allowed to ask for the time for their employees to do that. They're allowed to request photocopy fees, something like that, right? The cost of photocopying and Xeroxing, but not you can't pay the salary of their employees to do work when they're already paid by the city. They're already paid by tax dollars in the first place. They can't double dip you, and furthermore, they can't charge you $20,000 and then call the next guy to $20,000 for the same thing they just gave to somebody else, and the next guy $20,000. Like, what they're doing technically should be illegal, and there are laws against it. The problem is that the process is that you have to ask for it first. You got to get it in writing that they're asking you for something they shouldn't. Then you got to remind them of the law that says they can't charge you with that. And when they stonewall you again, that's where it gets tricky. Then you got to go to someone like the state attorney general office, and you have to file a complaint against them. And it may not go anywhere because, again, if there was corruption all the way up to the top of the state attorney general, they're not going to do anything with it. But here's what it does do. Even if you file that complaint, from what I understand, what it does is it makes a record. It'll forever be on the public record that somebody filed a criminal complaint against the department, and this was on record. Any news agency from here on out can go and say, you know what? This guy, whoever this asshole devil's advocate is, filed a criminal complaint asking for this information, and you never gave it to him. So if you put it out there in the ether, it might not even come from us. Somebody else might pick it up if it becomes part of the official public record that somebody has complained about. Why do we not have that answer? So we'll see. So cross your fingers. I saw we got A.R. Hayes from Convex Thoughts dropped in. Hey, even though the defense is asking for a lot to stay sealed and redacted, so it's not all the state of Idaho. Correct. That is correct. But that's where we're going with it as well, is that in the sake of public interest, regardless of both sides wants it sealed, there's a public interest, especially in this case, to they have to cite the reasons why it's being redacted. Now, I understand. Ultimately, Hitler has to decide when it gets unsealed. That's part of the problem. But anyways, the point being, it's a process. It's a process, people. And so I'm learning as I go what we can and we can't do. And so cross your fingers that we can get some traction on it. So that's all I got to say about that. Now, I want to share a Pavarotti thing. Pavarotti, there's people who think that that there's a beef between all the YouTubers and stuff like that. And yeah, I think Pavarotti sometimes is a little harsh with the way he talks about other YouTubers. And sometimes people can misstrew things that I say. I've got no problems with Pavarotti. I got no problems with any of the other YouTubers. And we all have our different niche. We all have things that we're special at, what we're really good at, kind of thing. And so while I don't agree with everything that Pavarotti says, I hope that there's a mutual respect on his part, that you don't agree with everything I say either, Pavarotti. But you know what? At the end of the day, we can both respect the angles that we're going on. And there's times when we will dovetail with each other. Today is a good example of how we dovetailed on each other. Something that Pavarotti said, and I want to make 100% clear to those of you, because he's got a rabid fan base. Like, Pav's got a rabid fan base, and I can already hear it. You asshole, Pavarotti is the one that first said that. I never said he wasn't the first to say it, which is why I've got his face literally on this slide. The revealing, there's Pavarotti in the corner. This comes from his video, okay? This comes from his video. But what I want to talk about is something that really, really struck home to me as really important to talk about. So let me try to get that on screen for you. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put, I'm going to add this to stage. All right. This is the article that Pavarotti was talking about. This is from the Idaho official government website of Brad Little, the governor of Idaho. And this was really, really exciting to me because the drug angle, let's talk about the drug angle. What we know is in the Idaho case, Idaho 4 case, we wanted to know why Homeland Security was there. We wanted to know why FBI was there. We wanted to know a lot of things. We had heard rumors, and not just rumors, but pretty good substantiated rumors, that there was an multi-jurisdictional drug task force in the area. We'd rumored for a long time that the university would have a major problem acknowledging that they've got a major drug problem, that drugs are running through a college campus. Who's going to want to send their kids to a college campus that's rife with drugs and is a hub for drug trafficking coming through? But it's been all kinds of like, maybe this was happening. Maybe that's why the marshals were there. Maybe that's why Homeland Security is there. Maybe that's why they tagged things on this case like national security. So let's look at what Pavarotti was starting to uncover that I thought really, really was, oh my God, this is so good information. I'm going to read a lot to you. Governor Little launches, this is in March 3rd, listen to the date, March 3rd, 2022, months before the Idaho 4 murders, months before. We're talking about a large amount of money to put together a drug task force to fight drugs coming across the Mexican border into the United States through Idaho. That's what it's all about. It's about drugs coming from Mexico into Idaho, and they want money to fight the drug cartels. Not just drugs, the drug cartels from Mexico. So listen up. Boise, Idaho, Governor Brad Little kicked off Operation Esto Perpetua today, a new strategy mentioned in his January 10th State of the State address that will serve to combat Idaho's growing drug threat. Meth and fentanyl. Remember, fentanyl is involved in this case. We've got allegations of fentanyl. We've got indications of cocaine that were possibly at the house as well. Meth and fentanyl are the most serious and growing drug threats in Idaho, and there's a direct tie to the loose border with Mexico. There is much more that we can do to take make Idaho's community safer. With Operation Esto Perpetua, we are bringing together law enforcement, lawmakers, cities, counties, tribes, families, and the public in new ways with one goal: to meaningfully reduce the flow of fentanyl and meth into the state of Idaho through the Mexican border, is what I'm going to add. So we are talking about cartels. We are talking about Mexican drug cartels. We are talking about fentanyl and meth coming across the border into Idaho. And they're assembling a task force, which includes the FBI, Homeland Security, multi-jurisdictional task force, which were watching the area. This leads to the idea that they were already watching people in this area for drug trafficking. So all those stories that we're talking about, were there people in the house who are confidential informants, potentially, who are working to try to bust drugs running through Moscow? Or was there people who turned on the drug cartels or other people in that house? And did they get hit because their kids were the target of parents being punished for opening their mouth? All of those things take more weight when you look at that's exactly what they were fighting, what they're assembling in Idaho months before the murders. And I believe that they were watching that house. I believe there's a really, really strong possibility they were watching that house in relation to drugs and things in that neighborhood when this happened, and it happened right under their noses and shit went sideways. And I think that they knew a lot of what happened. I think to this day, they know what happened that night. That's why they didn't ask a lot of the questions that they weren't supposed to ask, or they should have asked. They weren't asking because they already knew the answers. They already knew what happened in that house. They've been watching. That's my guess. And it's coming together more and more as we look at this. Governor Little said the increasing availability of drugs, high supply, low price, and totally unpredictable potency, along with the impact on Idaho communities from abuse and crime related to drug abuse, as present continuing threats to the health and safety of Idahoans. Operation Esto Perpetua includes both a law enforcement panel and citizen action groups on fentanyl. So they're asking citizens to come forward and work with law enforcement, i.e., now do you have citizens who are ratting on drug cartels, right? Hey, what do you guys know? Citizens are asked to work with law enforcement to turn in drugs and drug users and stuff like that. So we've got a scenario in which we do have maybe college students who know about drugs running through the university who are working with law enforcement because there's money going into trying to get people, the citizens, to act and rat out on all those things. So it starts to bring this story together, this narrative together. So Operation Esto Perpetua includes both a law enforcement panel and a citizen action group on fentanyl. The citizen action group on fentanyl will meet regularly throughout the state over the next couple of months. They will hear from local law enforcement and members of the public about their loved ones' experiences with fentanyl and meth. The citizens action group will take input and comments from the public at each stop. I encourage Idahoans to participate in the regional meetings coming up over the next 2 months and share their personal experiences with the citizens action group on fentanyl. We need to hear from Idahoans about the impact of fentanyl and meth and the lives of our loved ones. Of the cities mentioned that were in this whole thing, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. What is Coeur d'Alene, Idaho's connection to this case? Maddie, Kaylee, Jack DeCoeur, Xana, all came from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. So we know that that one of the people in this whole thing is Coeur d'Alene. That's one of the communities where they're looking for people to help out with the drug problem in Idaho. So does it make any direct connection? Absolutely not. Does it start to paint a narrative that maybe this has to do, maybe this is why Homeland Security is there. Maybe that's why FBI is there. Maybe that's why multi-jurisdictional task force are there, because there's a drug problem in Idaho. And yes, the university would want to keep that quiet. The city would want to keep it quiet because it could ruin your whole town. That entire town exists for one reason and one reason only, because the university. So I realize I talk a lot. I will get my panelists to give feedback when I finish reading the yellow shit. So hold on a second. To reinforce Idaho's commitment to this effort, Governor Little is seeking $250,000 to carry out the objective of Operation Esto Perpetua. Last year, Governor Little joined fellow governors in Texas. By the way, I don't think it's connected, but Kaylee Gonzalez, wasn't she taking a job in Texas right after after she graduated?
Yep.
All right. So I don't think it's connected, but it's interesting that they were working with Texas, and that's where Kaylee was going next. And I've said before that I think Kaylee could have been a target of the House. I said before Kaylee could have been a confidential informant. I said before that the rumors were out there that Kaylee was working with the police officers. Some people thought she was having an affair. What if she was an informant? What if she was talking to a police officer? What if that was what was happening? I don't know. It's just, again, it's questions for people smarter than me. All right, let's continue on. Idaho's growing drug threat is a direct consequence of the loose border with Mexico. Law enforcement reporting shows that a supply of illicit fentanyl from Mexico in the region has become much more prevalent. The majority of officers surveyed reported that investigations involving fentanyl were directly tied to sources in Mexico. So the fentanyl that they're seeing, which was on campus at Idaho, is coming from Mexico, and that's what they were seeing more and more. Law enforcement reporting shows that drugs are primarily transported into Oregon and Idaho through from Mexico through California. Approximately 96% of drug trafficking organizations identified Mexico as the source country for drugs trafficked into the region. Governor Little sent a team of Idaho state troopers to the U.S.-Mexican border last year to assist the state of Arizona with their drug interdiction efforts, and they returned with better knowledge of the intel to fight the drug battle here in Idaho. So all I think there is a lot of teeth to the idea that was there some kind of operation going on? Were they watching drugs in Moscow, Idaho? Is that why we believe the federal marshals were there? Homeland Security. People asked, why the hell is Homeland Security involved in a murder in Idaho? Well, because drugs may be coming across the border from Mexico into Idaho, into that town. So were they watching it? Were the feds watching it? Did the feds already know who Brent Kopacka and Brian Koberger were prior to this, because there's some connection between them? Or were they working with them? Someone like a Brian Koberger who wanted to work with the feds. Was he working with the feds who had a big amount of money to come watch the area? Did he have some kind of inside thing going on with them? So lots and lots of questions. Now I'll turn it over and shut my mouth for my panel to weigh in on it. What do you guys think?
Anyone?
I think there could definitely be a correlation, because we know Kaylee was into true crime. Did she, if she saw such an announcement, would that have been something that would have piqued her curiosity and something that she would have gotten involved in? She was a gutsy young lady. She had very conservative views. And so I don't know. I would not doubt that she may have possibly decided to work with him, or at least shown up at a meeting. I don't know. That's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, it's interesting because I know from a lot of the interviews with some of the sorority girls and other people or whatever, they they said that she was pretty much into true crime and whatnot. So uh, there's that. There's also she was also investigating. There's some of the other possible suicides from some of the students and whatnot. Um, I do think there's a strong chance. Obviously, if drugs are coming in, there's going to be they. Okay, so it's coming through Mexico, but there's got to be a point person. There's got to be people on the ground. So it's
Right.
not out of the realm of believability
Yeah.
that there are some key people who possibly were from whatever fraternity and whatnot. Not to say that the hit was. I don't think necessarily. Oh, the hit was called from the fraternity. I do. I think JJ and I spoke about this many times. I don't believe that this murder, that this stuff necessarily came from the fraternity. There's just, I don't believe that people would be able to be quiet about it. There'd be, someone would have come forward, there'd be a picture, there'd be something. But could there be, a small group of people, just like it involves the whole, as you just said before, this kind of thing, the amount of power and the reach that they have. If people don't think that, this is a small town, could there be possibly some kind of, university play? I mean, where is the place to, distribute these kind of drugs and whatnot? It would be right, the campus and whatnot. You could have a small like some people from the university police. You could have some people were bought. If you have just one or two, people who even from MPD that are somehow connected on that payroll. All they have to do is get you one time. They got
Right, and that,
they got you. They get you one time involved. Say one time on something, and now they have that blackmail over your head. This has to do what you say with your
Yeah.
whole, with a lot of stuff you've talked about under
I wanna
one
put you in
nation
a
under
tough-
blackmail. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to put you in a tough situation, because as a law enforcement officer, I'm going to put you in a tough situation. How easy or likely is it if big money and drug cartels are shipping drugs through a university that they can get to cops, get corrupt cops, pay off cops, get cutbacks from cops? Is that something that's reasonable to say that could have happened?
Super easy. I mean, this has happened, time and time again throughout our NYPD's history. Things are a little more difficult now here, I would say, with all the body cameras, and you can't really go anywhere in New York City without being on camera at a restaurant or there's cameras.
Right.
There's cameras
everywhere.
everywhere. Now this Moscow PD obviously is small, whatever rural town, college town. Very, very believable. You're dealing with fentanyl and what whatever, cocaine or whatever kind of drugs. I mean, you're dealing with big money here. If again, all they have to do is get one or two of these officers, on their, in their zone, on their line, and then now they own you. They own you for life. So it might not be like, that the police, that they committed the homicide, but it could have been whatever happened, that they had their hitman or whatever went down, that they had to take action, and a phone call could have just been made to one of these officers. Oh, we got the situation here. We need you now. We need you over here to help on the cleanup, and that's it. They have you. They own you.
Right. And I want to give Joe a chance to speak, but I want to just follow one more thing up before I ask Joe. Like you said, once you've taken a bribe or a little bit of money for something else, then they've got you in your pocket because you don't want to get that exposed now. Because so it's like you said, it could have started a long time ago. They could have got them for something smaller, and then it's like, hey, look, we've already got you. Like, you don't want this to come out, do you? So you need to take care of this problem. So all of those are plausible scenarios. Joe, what do you think about that whole drug angle and that stuff?
Yeah. Well, the two things I always say is I zoom out and I look at the big picture, and then I also look at psychology, human behavior. And I don't think too many of us in the den and on the panel would disagree that there was most likely drugs flowing in and around that house. I don't think that's a controversial statement at this point, based on things we've heard, but also just based on reality. Big party house. There were, people that lived in that house who were allegedly involved with people that were involved with drugs, on several levels. Parents, and then also one of the housemates' boyfriend was allegedly involved with drugs. So if you look at the bigger picture, which is it's a college town, it's an area where clearly there was a drug problem in the state, because they wouldn't talk about an initiative like that in that memo or that press release if there wasn't. So if you take that and you just work downwards and look at the things that could have been impacted by the drugs, fraternities, I hung out at fraternities a lot when I was in college because I had friends that were in fraternities, and there's always a lot of drugs, around fraternities. So if somebody in that house was connected to dealing, maybe somebody else in the house, like hypothetically Kaylee, didn't like that. And that would have been most likely for proximity reasons, and also just because it's not a giant university, the fraternities could have been connected to that house in that way as well. So if somebody in that house was either speaking out against it, or somebody thought they were going to speak out against movement of drugs through that house, that right there is a big motivation. And as far as the corruption angle, people, there's good people and bad people. There's good cops and bad cops. They're human beings. They're no different than any other group of human beings. So if you have, all it takes is a few police officers, and they think, we're just this little town. If I take a little bit of something on the side, I looked either to look the other way or facilitate in some way, shape, or form, then it's not implausible to imagine a scenario where that house was a target for more than one thing. It was a target because of activity, but also it could have been a target because someone in that house was a threat to what was going on in that area. That's kind of the way I see it.
And is it not implausible? Is it not completely plausible that if the campus just had, let's say for a moment, and I think there's reasons to think it might not have been, but if let's say for a moment it was kind of a cartel hit or a drug hit on the house, is it plausible that they would want to not have that be known, that literally that drugs are so bad in this town that someone's going to come in and wipe out college kids in their house and slaughter a whole house right in downtown Moscow and just get away with it? That would be a huge bad message to anybody that wants to send their kids to Moscow, Idaho.
Yeah,
no one's going to want to send their kids where the cartels are running wild and murdering people. So you would want to cover that shit up like you wouldn't believe.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
100%.
That's why they threw it out there so quick that this was a targeted event, and they got their guy Koberger, right? And there's nothing else to see here. You don't have to worry. Everything's good. Everything can go back to normal.
Yeah. So, once again, at the end of the day, we don't know what happened, but it seems like what we mostly agree on in the Devil's Advocates channel is it didn't happen the way they said it did. That's something that most of us are almost certain of. It wasn't one guy who killed 4 people on 2 floors in 8 minutes by himself with no training and did that. We all kind of agree on that. The story stinks to high heaven. And so then you have to ask yourself, oh, if they're lying about it, if that's not how it happened, then what? And it starts to make sense, doesn't it? When you start to pull in the motives for hiding up a major drug problem on campus, people that being murdered right in front of cops, right in downtown college campus. That would be a major PR nightmare for your college, that you have that big of a problem with drugs that could happen. So I'm not saying that's how it happened, but I will say that for me, the official story stinks ass. I don't think it happened that way. I think there's stuff going on that we don't know about. And at the end of the day, the question is like, if they did lie about it, does any amount of pressure ever going to be able to shake it loose? Is it all covered under national security because it's at that level? Is it hit at that level that it's literally a national security issue about drugs coming in across the Mexican border, and therefore they are allowed legally to lie all day long, every day, twice on Sunday, no matter how many questions you ask, and to say, sorry, national security, we're never going to tell you what happened there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, why the thing that's, people discuss the drug hit angle, right? Cartel hit, whatever. That would really, again, raise the question: why would they leave 2 potential witnesses? They wouldn't. It's, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time and something like that goes down, chances are they're not going to leave anybody. They're not going to walk past somebody that saw them, in my opinion.
Right. No, you're right. 100%. And that's why, like, I definitely, I know the whole thing with, that's why whether, Dylan was forced into kind of helping, or she didn't have much of a choice, is why, again, you said, you look at the bigger picture and you look at the behavior of people, and you have to think like logically, and you listen to the words and listen to some of the stuff that people say, even if you think, oh, some of it is lying, or this doesn't, or if they kind of change the story a bit, but listen carefully. And again, I don't know if we'll ever get the actual full, truth through, somehow, unless there's some other witness or someone else comes forward. But again, obviously the 8-hour 911 delay, and Dylan, other than the delay, like we know that there's something suspect there. But the other big thing, the huge thing that is alarming to me with Dylan is, she's so scared and she runs to her room, right? And she locks the door, and she's calling all these people. She's calling, going on Snapchat and doing all this stuff, right? She's calling Bethany and she's messaging. Where is Dylan's message and phone call to her boyfriend, Quinn? I think that is a key thing. Again, this is just a theory. I'm not saying Quinn murdered anyone. I don't, I'm not saying that, but it's highly suspect. And look at the behavior, because I believe from Dylan's own mouth, she has said several times she gets like afraid a lot. She gets a little, she hears like a noise or whatever. And she thought she hears a noise outside, and she's messaged Quinn, right? Like, oh, she's, she thinks something's out there. So why didn't she message? She actually, going by her account, she sees someone in black. She can't get a hold of her roommates. She's all this stuff going on. She doesn't message Quinn. She doesn't call Quinn. It's right. Really
It's a really
weird.
good question. It's a really good question. And if I were to, it's a great question. And I think you're right. I think she, she probably would have, right? But
yeah,
to play devil's advocates with it, what she'll say, or what they would say, is Quinn was in Boise, Idaho, so he wasn't nearby to help out anyways. It's not like he can't just jump in a car and be there in 5 hours to help out with the kind of thing. It's over by the time, she calls him. So that would probably be their argument, because supposedly he was in Boise, Idaho. And I say supposedly because
Right.
if I were a critical thinker, I would say it would have been easy to establish an alibi, and he could have been in Moscow, Idaho. There's reasons people say that they think they saw his truck in Moscow, Idaho at the time of the murder. So, did he simply have
Oh
somebody
yeah.
use his
Yeah.
phone from Boise to establish an alibi that he was in Boise when he really was in Moscow? That's a
Right.
possibility. You
Yeah,
can't rule
it's
that
just
out.
really weird. Yeah, it's
Right.
just weird because you would think, okay, she doesn't want to, whatever the issue is, okay, she doesn't, some people don't want to call 911. If you go, oh well, she didn't really know what happened and whatnot. If you go by
And
that, that
let's
she's
not
innocent.
forget.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
not forget. Dylan literally said to an officer when they asked basically why she thinks they didn't kill her. She said, "I don't know. Maybe they
Yeah.
knew me and maybe they wanted to protect me." And I was
Right.
like, "That's a telltale sign right there." Like,
Yeah.
does she
Absolutely.
know? Does she suspect or know that whoever came in that house knew her personally and didn't want to harm her? Because
Right.
No, I think she knows.
Oh yeah,
I
and
think
I
she
think
knows, yeah.
and I think
I think she, yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
also some of the stuff that's coming out again, we don't know 100% yet. I think there's a strong chance, there's strong evidence too that's basically s- showing that I think Kaylee was actually killed on the second floor, and I wouldn't be surprised if she was actually, whether she was killed or she was assaulted or caught or whatever. Probably maybe even right outside of Dylan's bedroom. Wouldn't that be something if she's like, oh, Kaylee, I heard Kaylee with Murphy, down the stairs, I heard Kaylee crying. Wouldn't it be something if Kaylee was trying to run to Dylan's bedroom and and her door was locked
Yeah.
and she couldn't get in?
And I'll tell you, by the way,
And
I don't want to beat this. I don't want to beat this to death, but one of the things I hate to do this because it sounds like I'm accusing. I'm not accusing, but I want to just talk about one more thing with the Quinn phone call in Boise that bothers me. They even stated Dylan had a conversation earlier in the night with a girl because her boyfriend Quinn was out with a girl at the bar, and they talk about her talking to the
Mhm.
girl. The question becomes, was Quinn even there? Was it just a girl talking on Quinn's phone? Like, was he even there? You have to ask the question. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
do we have the call, or do all we have is a phone
Right.
call was made? Did they even go as the question is, did they even go as far to verify that Dylan called Quinn and that there was an X number of phone call to Boise? But if they did they verify Quinn was actually on the other side of the phone, or was it just some girl using Quinn's phone saying I'm with Quinn? Kind of thing. Who knows?
And one thing too, I see people. Someone made a comment about the three last seen at the frats end up dead. Um, the big question that always comes up when we talk about this is, the Dylan story. She wasn't pressed, and she wasn't considered suspicious with the 8-hour delay and a lot of the inconsistencies. So that to me would point to obviously a conspiracy. There was something going on in the area, and the police knew about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And whether they were directly involved or they were peripherally involved somehow, that to me, and this is just speculation, of course, but why wouldn't you question? I've said this from day one. Why wouldn't they press Dylan and Bethany more? Why wouldn't they question the inconsistencies? And why would they just brush it off like it's nothing? Well, it's because, in my opinion, they knew exactly what happened there.
That's
Dylan
what I think.
knew, Bethany knew, other people probably knew too, from that weren't in the house when it happened, or maybe they were, but there, in my opinion, there's no possible way there can't be some kind of conspiracy involved. It's to me, that's the one thing. I don't see any possible way, because why wouldn't you? Why does everything else that follows after that, the shady story and the 8-hour delay, just gets shadier and shadier?
Yeah.
It's like you
Yeah.
got a
Right.
ready-made,
Mhm.
perpetrator, as we often
Right.
see.
Right.
And you have, we know now there was a task force, a drug task force operating
Yeah.
in Idaho.
Yeah.
And so to me, that is in some way, shape, or form, whether Estes crime is, is right and it was an extraction operation, or whether it was some people knew information and they were a threat and they had to be taken out, because it would have gone far and wide and it would have exposed a lot of things. And of course, the school doesn't want that to get out. So then the cover up would make perfect sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, and the question, I don't even know how to word this question. And by the way, I want to kind of move into another topic because I don't want to, I'm starting to develop a routine on this show, which is the first hour we talk about one main case, and then we move on for about 20 minutes on another case, and then 20 minutes on another, and then we'll wrap up. So in my head, I'm hitting the 1 hour mark. I think we should try to move into one of our other cases here in a minute. But, one of the questions I keep asking myself, and I don't even know if I like asking the question, was, let's say for a minute it was a drug cartel thing and the FBI was watching and Homeland Security was watching and everybody kind of knew it was going to go down and whatever. At some level, are we assholes for pressing for the truth? Should they be saying legit, shut the fuck up, guys? Like, this is a way bigger thing than you think it is. This is way bigger fish to fry. Like, this has to do with drugs coming across the border, you know, billions of dollars in drug money. And you guys are running your mouth, ruining a case that we've been trying to build against the drug cartels. Like, is there any part of it that you feel guilty for trying to press for the truth because there's a bigger thing at fry? And yeah, they are lying, but we should all be thankful because they're protecting the country. Or something like that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, but what is it really? I mean,
Yeah.
When you lie to the public, you blatantly, and we're seeing that the more and more things that come out, and the more and more analysis is given. What do you expect? You know, this is supposed to be a free country. We're supposed to have freedom of speech. And if the government is doing things that are shady, and they have a long and storied history of doing shady things,
Right.
then fuck off. You know, if people are questioning things, then that's their fault. It's their fault.
Yeah.
You know, and someone mentioned that they don't think in the chat, I don't think Dylan and Bethany might not be involved. I'm not saying that they're the perpetrators or that they are necessarily nefarious. They could have been given a script to run.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
I've said that for a long time. I've been very clear about it. I've never one time said I thought Dylan and Bethany were directly involved. Not one single time.
Right.
Ever.
And they might be told what to say. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
They might be told what to say.
I've never ever, not one single time have I ever alluded to the fact that I thought they were directly involved.
Right. So you just gotta think about, again, so common sense kind of stuff. Even if you want to believe that that they were at the house and they were so scared and they locked themselves in the room, right, until they finally got Hunter Johnson and Emily and whoever came over. It doesn't, even going by that they knew nothing that was going on and they're purely innocent and they're just victims of the experience. And you know, why are we attacking them and whatnot? The reason it's not that we want to attack them. It's what they're saying doesn't make sense. Okay. I have extensive experience of responding to crime scenes. There is no way. So you got two huge factors. There is no way that I will believe that Bethany and Dylan stayed in this house. Forget about even being, you know, we know that they weren't asleep. There's no way that they were in that house after these crimes happened for hours and hours. The smell of the bodies would have been off the charts. And then on top of that, we know that one of the doors, I don't know about all the windows, but we know that one of the doors was left open. It was it was freezing outside.
Yeah,
they would have been freezing, and the smell would have been off the charts. There's no way that they stayed in that house all night. Impossible. It's not possible.
Yeah, and and like I said, we need to move on from this case, I think, in a minute here. But and again, you can't take Howard Bloom as an authority, but Howard Bloom reported, and he was supposedly had talked to people, that when the first responders, the first officers arrived on scene, the second they walked into the first floor, the very bottom floor door, they knew something was off. They could immediately tell something horrible had happened, probably because of the smells and all the other things you can tell. There was they immediately knew they were walking into a horrible scene. So, so you have to ask yourself, like, how did they not? I mean, but anyways, and so the story stinks. The house would have stunk. The whole story stinks. I think that's why Verdi might have been outside, because there's like, who wants to go into that if that happened there? Of course, you have people. Unfortunately, we don't have Jason Estes, our resident. It never happened. It's all an extraction operation, and nobody died in the house, kind of thing. Person to defend it, but thinking that something actually did happen in the house, it just leaves us with a lot of questions. And again, at the end of the day, are we an asshole for pointing out that the story doesn't make sense and pushing for transparency and trying to understand what happened, so that we don't have somebody potentially going to jail for something that they didn't do just because it was a bigger story and somebody had to pay? So let's just pick some schmuck out of college and throw him away in jail for the rest of his life, if that's what happened. Now, I'm not saying that happened, but would we be willing to accept that as a nation, to protect the greater good, to throw some schmuck in jail that didn't do it just because we needed to have a patsy and we needed to cover up a bigger story for the greater good of the country? That's not how we're supposed to operate in this country. No. So hopefully that's not the answer for some people. But all right, guys,
I'm going to grab a water, DA, real quick.
Okay. All right. We're going to be moving. Yeah, I'll go ahead. We're going to be moving into the Charlie Kirk situation next. So I say that so that those who absolutely are like, oh my God, we're done with Idaho 4, let's move on. By the way, if you do have a question or comment about Idaho 4, I will give you another moment to ask a quick question, but otherwise we're going to be transitioning. And I'm doing that to stall a little bit for Joe from State of the Deep. He likes the Charlie Kirk story a lot, and so it's one of his favorite cases. So I want to make sure he's there for the beginning of that. But as well, if anybody's braver than a son of a gun, we can always invite you to come on stage for a moment and ask a quick question politely. I realize that this is a danger because it looks like we have a little bit of potential trolling going on and rough conversation. But if somebody wants to take an opportunity to come up to the stage, I just got to notice that some of my some comments can't be posted to other destinations, so we're streaming to multiple places. But I did post a link in there if you wanted to try to come up and ask a question verbally. If you want to type a question into the question or the chat, we can do that. Otherwise, we'll move into the next topic, which is going to be Charlie Kirk. Yep, on the 911 call, DM's words sounded like she had been out all night and had just recently got home, right? Yeah, there was asking 1-1, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Did you have a comment?
No, yeah. It definitely, I don't know exactly when she left. I would say that once the crime took place, I think Dylan and Bethany were out of that house for most of the night. That's what I believe.
So I just wanted to share. So as we move into the Charlie Kirk story, I want to share some thoughts about why do we talk about Charlie Kirk? And I realize that we're a true crime channel. At its heart, Devil's Advocates is a true crime channel that focuses on the presumption of innocence. So in that regards, Tyler Robinson has the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in a court of law. This case, Charlie Kirk, is very, very political. And I realize for a lot of people, that's where we lose a lot of people, because unfortunately, a lot of people in America have been, for the lack of a better word, brainwashed into thinking it's Republicans versus Democrats, because you've been divided as a people into thinking that it's you people suck and my people are the good people and only you people do shitty things. And if you do catch my side doing shitty things, well, it's not as bad as the shitty things you do. So somehow our shit stinks a little worse than your shit, but it's still shit at the end of the day. Rant over. But the point being is that if you get stuck into politics, you can't see that. You can't talk about Charlie Kirk's case without getting into politics, but it's not about the politics. It's about bigger things. I want to show a reason on screen why this is such a big story. Charlie Kirk on Wikipedia is the #1 most read page last year. Look at this. Charlie Kirk's got over 45 million views, leads #1 as the #1 thing that people go to Wikipedia for now is Charlie Kirk. Next would be deaths in 2025, followed by Ed Gein, probably because of the monster series that came out. Then Donald Trump at 25.1 million. So that's to give you an idea of how big Charlie Kirk is. #1 search on Wikipedia. So that's just a little teaser on that. I wanted to cover some other things about the case, and I got to kind of go to a current slide. Oops. From current slide. There we go. Should have been. So this is something I wanted to talk about here. A little bit of history coming up on an article that I want to read. Tucker Carlson on July 11th. So this is shortly before September 10th when Charlie Kirk was shot and killed. Tucker Carlson was giving a speech at TPUSA, and he was criticizing the elites in this country, specifically Jeffrey Epstein, and how the elites control things, and basically how that kind of ties into things. He's talking about the little people, if you will, are getting frustrated watching people like Jeffrey Epstein walk away with immunity. They seem to be doing whatever they want to do, and they get away with it. And so there's this divide between the elites and the rest of everybody. And there were some who believe that was kind of the start of the unraveling of the end. Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk were starting to talk more and more about Jeffrey Epstein and what Jeffrey Epstein had on the United States. Was he an agent for Mossad, Israeli government, or was he, as some people say, working actually for the FBI, and that maybe actually Epstein was more of an FBI asset than he was a Mossad asset? Whatever the case may be, there's a large thing in my heart that tells me Epstein is at the center of a lot of what happened with Charlie Kirk's assassination. Yet we are to believe it's all about Tyler Robinson, who just didn't like his message and thought he was a bigot or whatever and decided to kill him with his grandfather's rifle or whatever the case may be. I think that story stinks. I think this is a highly political assassination. I think it goes way bigger than that. And then Tucker Carlson related Charlie Kirk's death to being Jesus, to that being of Jesus, that powerful figures wanted to silence Jesus, just like powerful figures wanted to silence Charlie Kirk. And then there was the allegation that I wanted to talk about just briefly that Netanyahu from Israel had actually called Charlie Kirk personally prior to his assassination and told him that Israel wants to help take TPUSA to the next level, and that Charlie Kirk turned that offer down. It would have been in the billions of dollars that were offered to help out with TPUSA to make them even bigger than they were. He turned it down, and then bam, he's assassinated. So the question becomes, out of all of these narratives going around, is it all distraction? Is it all just, do we even know what really happened? Because there's a million theories that are going around. It's the Egyptians flew in, and then France is involved, and then it's like, well, it's the Epstein files that were, and Trump had him assassinated, and so it's like there's a million different people saying who all wanted. Now there's allegations, by the way, that I'm going to show in an article that Charlie Kirk was looking into the financial dealings of TPUSA and wanted a forensic audit of their bookkeeping records. That's something that Candace Owens was coming out with, saying Charlie Kirk was just initiating a forensic audit of TPUSA's books to find out who they're getting money from and where the money's going and what shell companies they're using, because he suspected there was some shady shit going on in TPUSA. Did that get him killed simply for looking into the money trail? So everybody seems to want a Charlie Kirk dead for different reasons. As Joe might say, usually when someone gets assassinated, it serves more than one purpose. So there's multiple people that were benefited by Charlie being, taken out. So what are your thoughts on that before we jump into an article or two? Do you guys want to comment on the whole case in general?
Well, we spoke earlier, Lee. So it's super interesting. The issue, obviously we were talking about Charlie Kirk and and Tyler Robinson. We can't talk about it without bringing up Candace Owens, right? So Candace Owens, there's a strong, obviously she has connections to some very high people in power or people in the intelligence community. If she herself may be connected to some kind of FBI or CIA thing. We don't know that, and what you bring up many times, and JJ has said it as well, that the problem, it seems that a lot of these theories and a lot of the stuff that's that's coming out, Candace Owens seems to be like the main person, getting all this info. And is this, so she's basically, with the following that she has, I mean, I think she has like something like 5 million subscribers on YouTube. It's, she's basically controlling the narrative. So, but what's interesting today, she did a just a real quick, she did a stream today, and apparently, she's made some very strong accusations against, she's specifically named certain people of Turning Point USA, and they, this, what's this guy, Blake Neff, was, he's not the usual spokesperson, but apparently he issued a statement, and she played a bunch of the statement, and then she made comments, in response to some of the stuff he said. So he basically addressed a lot of her comments that she brought up about Egypt and connection to France and all kinds of different things. And they basically, what it seems like is that at some point they didn't give a specific date or whatnot, but apparently she is going to do some kind of live show with Turning Point, and I guess she's going to ask a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
It's going to be highly interesting to see like what comes up, because she has some very, very strong accusations about Turning Point. So,
And before I show some of the articles that I want to show, I know Joe has a lot of things to say about Candace as well. Do you want to talk a little bit in general about this before I show some articles and get into some meat, Joe?
Yeah, well, one of the big things that Candace has come out with, a piece of information that's pretty significant, is that the plane was stopping, the Egyptian planes that she was tracking, they were stopping in Delaware.
right.
And there was a company that had leased a hangar there, a company, I think it was called Satis. And one of the top shareholders in that company is an Israeli firm, right? That's an important factor. Just sort of background information on that. You know what they always say? People get attacked when they're over the target, and she is high profile. She was already high profile, but one of the two main reasons I think she's the main sort of high profile person regarding this case is, number one, she was close friends with Charlie, and she worked for Turning Point. She
Right.
was one of their main speakers. She did those tours. She knows the routine, the normal routines, what's unusual, what's typical. And the second reason is that she is in a position of power to be attacked. So or rather a position of high visibility. So she's being attacked, which draws more attention to her. Right. So
Yeah.
you have to wonder, is she over the target? And that's why she's being marginalized and attacked, and she's crazy, and this and that and the other thing. So, I follow her content, and I have for actually quite a while.
Right.
And you can criticize anybody. If Estes Crimes was here, he'd say, she's CIA, she's this.
Right.
She might be. She might be. But the reality is, you should still listen to what the CIA is saying too.
Right.
Just don't get too distracted by it.
Right.
And look at what is plausible and what's implausible. Tyler Robinson being this radicalized lone wolf shooter is the most preposterous narrative that could have been come up. I mean, it's preposterous. He was shot with a 30-06. Nobody buys that, except normies who don't know anything about firearms.
Right.
So all the mainstream narrative stuff is ridiculous. And I really feel for people that believe any of it, because this is a tried and true method that's been done by the CIA for many decades, as most people know that have done any research on it. But you know, the fact of the matter is, and I'll leave it at this. What do you think is more likely? It's that simple. Some rando kid was radicalized, and he just happened to show up at an event. Nobody saw him, no security saw him on the roof. No security saw him climb up there. No, no drones saw him on the rooftop. They don't show any footage of him actually taking the shot. Is that narrative more likely than Charlie was involved with a powerful organization? He was speaking out against powerful people, and he was threatening to audit Turning Point, right? Powerful interests were involved with Turning Point, probably even more than we can fathom at this point. So what is more likely? The lone gunman that's been used for ages and ages as a distraction, or powerful entities took somebody out that was threatening their power? I mean, it's pretty simple choice as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and before I get Robin's thoughts, I just want to, highlight the gifts and stuff that have been coming in since you've been talking and stuff as well. Siggy, I'm not sure if that's how we pronounce it, M650 became a new member, so thank you for becoming a member of the show. Appreciate that very much. Jeremy Pearson gifted a membership to people, actually gifted 2 memberships, it looks like, to people. Make sure you, if you don't know how that works, you need to have turned on the ability to receive gift memberships, which is a process. I won't go through all the details again, but again, you need to turn on the ability to receive gift memberships. But thank Jeremy Pearson for that, because Jeremy literally paid for your membership for the month. You're not obligated to keep it going. If you got that free membership, you get a peek around a bunch of members only content. So take advantage of it while you can. There's I don't know. There could be 100 or more videos out there that are member only content behind the member wall. And it's not even expensive. It's $2.99 for a member, but so it's worth it if you want to look into it. But thank you for our supporters that support the channel through those gift only. And by the way, a lot of the reasons why that happens, real quick, before I get Robin's comments again on the case, and we talk about some specific articles, a lot of the reasons why the member only content there is because it hurts the channel if we talk about topics and only 100 people or 200 people look at it versus something that gets thousands of views. It hurts the channel. It tells YouTube that people aren't interested in your show anymore, so they stop showing all of your stuff. So when you have content that is lower hanging fruit that people don't like so much, you put it behind that member only area to say, hey, look, if you like our style and you like the story that hasn't taken off yet, maybe we'll put it in a little bit more of an area where you kind of have to pay to see it, because otherwise it's going to hurt the channel overall. And so that's kind of the reason why it goes there. So there's a lot of reasons. So thanks again for becoming a member and checking that stuff out. Robin, do you have any thoughts about the Candace Owens and the whole Charlie Kirk situation before we dive into some specific articles?
Well, I think JJ is absolutely right. I just cannot believe that they don't have footage of this guy walking into the area. I mean, and come on, who's going to walk around with a gun down their pants and not be noticeable like the three-legged man? I don't know, but it's just ridiculous. So I just I just hope that Candace at some point can bring some kind of receipts, and if she does, can do it in a way that she is not in danger. If she has them. So I am very interested to see exactly what all
and I want to say Joe's question is the same question we were just at. Fundamentally, Joe's question in this case was the same question we were asking in Idaho 4. What makes more sense to you? What makes more sense to you? This radicalized young kid who stuffed a gun down his pants and went and shot Charlie Kirk and all that stuff, or the Charlie Kirk was talking about Epstein. He was looking into the financial records of TPUSA and who was donating money, ruffling feathers, pissing off high-level people with money. Literally, governments don't like what he has to say. Is it more likely that that's what killed him, or some random kid? Is it more likely in the Idaho story that it was a big, huge drug cartel thing and a hit on the house covered up by a university who doesn't want to admit to get a drug problem, or a random incel who can't get laid and had to kill 4 out of 6 people in the house? What makes more sense to you? Like, fundamentally, it's a good question. It's a question you should ask in all these cases. What makes more sense? The story they're telling you is the case, or something that makes a lot more sense than that? So let's just look into a couple of things real quick. Candace Owens claims Charlie Kirk was setting up a Doge department to conduct the audit of Turning Point USA a week before his death. She alleged to have internal memo from TPUSA, which claims Charlie Kirk wanted to set up a Doge for the company before he was shot. In the latest episode of the podcast, Candace Owens shed light on new revelation about Charlie Kirk. She claimed a week before he passed away, the political activist announced he was setting up the Doge department, which I just said 5 times. Supposedly she has receipts for these things. And this is part of the problem. This is part of the problem we have with some of the Candace Owens material, is a lot of times she says things and she says, I'm going to show you the receipts, and then we never see the receipts or they don't get verified. So then it becomes a question, does she really know these things and she really has it? Why are a lot of the things that she say don't come with receipts? When they do come with receipts, are they verifiable? Like one of the ones that bothered me the most in the Candace thing, and I said I was going to pick on her a little bit, was I've been threatened, my life's been threatened by the French government, and the White House is going to announce it and verify it for you to give credibility. And that's never happened. Like the White House has not come out and said anybody's trying to assassinate her from France. So why did she say that? And then, then she never came forward with the receipts showing she's being targeted by France. It was like, well, you're going to see, the White House is going to come out and confirm that they're trying to kill me. But that hasn't happened. And there's a lot of things like that kind of make me go, well, but like Joe said, if she's the leading voice that everybody's listening to, whether she's controlled or not controlled, we should probably hear what she has to say, because she's the leading voice and everyone is looking for her for the talking points for the day. So how do you ignore her? Candace Owens alleged that USA leaders betrayed Charlie Kirk before the deadly shooting and vows to show the evidence that they were betraying him. It was real vague, so we don't know what that's going to be. Another one of those things like, will she show receipts that they were trying to betray him? That article basically has no proof of it. But I wanted to show you, now this is going to be this one's going to be the one that makes me a little bit nervous. It's going to be Erica Kirk saying that she wants to be bigger than Taylor Swift, and whether that looks bad or not, right? Optically. So I will make sure Erica aimed to outshine Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's stadium spectacle in a tribute to Charlie Kirk. She talks about how the whole stadium was all into watching on screen about Taylor Swift and Kelce, whatever, and she's like, we need to be bigger than that, and I don't know, is that just supporting the mission of making sure that people understand the big issues, or does it feel a little showboaty that you're like literally like the way it reads is I want to be bigger than Taylor Swift? Like, I don't know. It just kind of bugged. I just wanted to, we're not going to read the whole article, but did you guys see that article? Do you have any thoughts whatsoever about whether that optically looks bad, or is it legit? Like maybe it is a more important issue than Taylor Swift and Kelsey's engagement or whatever.
All the world's a stage, man.
Yeah.
It's all theater. I mean, this is right up my alley, and I never go into that too deep into that stuff on here, but this kind of stuff I'll be talking a lot about. I mean, if people knew the way the system, if more people knew, I should say, the way the system, the power structure, that's how I refer to it, really worked, they wouldn't be able to sleep at night. And the craziest part about that is it's all out there. All the information, you just have to connect the dots. You can find the information that proves the way the power structure actually works. But the problem is we're all living our lives. We work, we have families, we have friends, we have, significant others and hobbies and on and on and on. And it's hard. It's hard to do. I can't do nearly as much research as I would like to be able to do because of, my schedule. Yeah. But the reality is I would encourage anybody who doesn't do this already to look at sources of information that address the actual power structure of the world, the banking industry, intelligence agencies, because I can tell you right now, the intelligence agencies are nothing like what we've been told they are. The banking and the intelligence agencies are directly connected, and start to connect the dots. Someone I always refer to with this kind of stuff, or is it at least one of the people, is Ian Carroll. He does a lot of really good research where he connects a lot of dots, and he does a lot of research. and he's pretty high profile, but he's very methodical, very, very methodical. And again, I've been onto this stuff for decades, but he's a younger guy. He's committed to it. He dedicates a lot of time. He does phenomenal presentations and research. But I recommend that people look into these things. He also hosted Candace's show when she was out on her maternity leave. Ian Carroll hosted her show. So anyway, I just think it's all theater. Keep the peasants fighting amongst each other, keep them distracted, demoralized, confused. That's the game.
So the last thought I want to cover on Charlie Kirk is a philosophical comment. And I'm not sure if everybody's going to understand it, but I'll do my best. I'm going to read a Washington Post article talking about our country has lost the inability to discuss difficult topics without rising to the level of violence and having to kill each other over it or hate each other over it to the point of violence, because we've lost the ability to have differences of opinions and just ask difficult questions without being considered to be dangerous. So it's going to be a little follow the logic here. This is an article from Washington Post. I think it was just posted today. Yeah, it was posted today. Charlie Kirk's killing shows the difference between words and violence. Nearly half of America's undergraduate students mostly or completely believe that words can be violence. So what they're saying is there are people who are growing a growing sentiment that your words are an act of violence. Therefore, it needs to be met with an act of violence. If you speak words that are violent, then you should be killed with violence because words are violence. And so that's kind of where they're going with this, is that we've gotten to the point where now you're being told that words are violence. So therefore, we can't talk about anything that might be considered dangerous because that leads to violence, if you follow my logic. The idea that controversial opinions equal danger has been percolating for years on college campuses. Not only did this misguided view teach students to shun difficult conversations, but it also created an environment ripe for politicization, calls for cancellation, and rank hypocrisy. So what they're saying is our society, our young kids, our college students are being taught not to have difficult conversations, not to debate and openly disagree with each other, as some might argue Charlie Kirk was doing when he was going on college campuses and inviting people to debate and say, prove me wrong, show me how your view goes, let's have a civil conversation. But that's considered by some violence, and therefore it's responded by, I'm just going to shoot you in the neck because your words are violent, and therefore you get violence in return for your violent words, instead of learning how to talk and have conversation with people. So they taught that the idea of saying controversial things is violent. The problem with seeing disagreeable ideas as violent is that it can be used to justify responding with violence. Kirk himself warned that when people stop talking, that's when you get violence. He urged his supporters to not see the other side as evil lest they lose their humanity. The challenge for university administrators will be to humanize unpopular opinions on campus, even amid heightened fears of violent reactions. Institutions can start by normalizing the kind of difficult conversations their students see as too dangerous. So again, they're saying college students are starting to think that there's some topics that are just too dangerous to talk about. It leads to violence, so you can't talk about it, and they're trying to shut their mouths. And that itself is bad, because as Charlie Kirk would say, when you stop talking, that's when it leads to violence. So which one is it? Like, what do you guys think? I mean, do you think we're getting into a point in this society where people think that your words equal violence, and therefore if you get the shit kicked out of you or you get killed, there's consequences for your actions? You opened your mouth, you deserve to die. Is that where we're going in this country, that you can't have a difference of opinion without being responded to violently?
That's a weak-minded
Yeah.
way of thinking.
Yeah.
And don't make me have to call these kids a bunch of pussies, but I'm sorry, they're a bunch of pussies. If you can't handle different opinions, that's your problem. If a strong mind is capable of hearing a myriad of different opinions and ideas, and you could disagree with them, you can agree with them. But we have become a society. This is where the censorship industrial complex comes in. And by the way, the Washington Post is a CIA paper, in case you didn't know that. Literally, Jeff Bezos owns it. Jeff Bezos has the largest intelligence data storage contract in the world. So they're just trying to push. They want divisive rhetoric. They want to push divisive rhetoric. And if you implant that idea into young people's impressionable brains that words are violence, they're going to start to internalize that. And when I was growing, I'm Gen X. I think Lee, you're probably Gen X. Robin,
Yep.
you're probably Gen X.
Yep.
1-1.
Yep.
I don't know. You might be Gen X too. But these things weren't. They used to let KKK members speak at rallies, and they would let uh, heads of like
Yeah.
dictatorial countries, like dictators, speak at colleges. Like, you have to be able to hear different ideas, and you have to be able to sift through those ideas and decide for yourself. And if it's bad ideas or good ideas, you have to be able to make your own decisions, because this whole idea of words being violence was a narrative that was pushed by the Matrix to divide people because they want violence. Let's be honest. The power structure loves civil unrest. They love chaos. They've done it since the beginning of modern civilization. They create chaos so they can come in and clamp down on citizens' rights. And to me, this whole narrative is bullshit.
Yeah. I agree. And I just thought it was an interesting philosophical question, because I do feel like in a lot of ways our country has become, as to use your word, our country has become pussified. Like we're afraid to have difficult conversations. We're afraid to confront people. We're afraid to tell people what we think about things because we've been taught that it's, violent or whatever. And therefore, if you have an opinion that's different, you're a bigot, a racist, or whatever, and you're canceled. And if just for having an opinion. And again, if your opinion sucks, then let it suck. Like, but we have this idea that you have to cancel people. You have to shut them down. You have to silence them if you don't like what they have to say. So as we're getting ready to wrap up, I just wanted to make a few comments about Luigi Mangione for my third case of the day. Luigi Mangione is facing suppression hearings in the state of New York. This is to go over whether or not the arrest in Altoona, Pennsylvania was legal or not, whether or not they illegally detained him, did not read his Miranda rights, but they questioned him in relation to the shooting in New York without telling him he had the right to remain silent, illegally searched and seized his items. And we've had 2 days of testimony. We were on a break today. I believe the third day of testimony starts tomorrow. It could go through the entire rest of the week. No fireworks yet from the defense team on it. Meaning both Thomas Dickey in Pennsylvania and Karen Agnifilo in the state of New York, made huge, explanations to the judge about why it was an illegal arrest. The prosecution's response, in my opinion, wasn't good. But now, mostly what we're hearing in the first 2 days of testimony is the prosecution's digging in deep that they had every right to do everything they did to Luigi Mangione, and they never violated his rights. He was free to leave at any time he wanted to, even while surrounded by a wall of officers pinning him in a corner. But anyways, and now it seems what the next step that they're doing in the case, from my slightly biased opinion, is they're bringing in correctional facility guards who were watching over Luigi Mangione before he got extradited to New York. So he was arrested in Pennsylvania, and there was a little bit of time before he was extradited to New York for murder. And while he was being held in Pennsylvania, he talked to some guards, and the guards are now coming forward on the stand saying, yeah, Luigi Mangione admitted he had a 3D printed gun, and that he had problems with the health insurance industry, and several things that were in those items that they found in his backpack. And I think what they're doing is they're laying the foundation of, if the judge tosses out this arrest, we still have guards that'll go on record saying Luigi admitted to all the things that we would have had shown the jury. So we won't show them the items. We'll just show them that the guard said he talked about having those items. So that's kind of where they're going with that. And again, so far the defense has been pretty quiet, which surprises me, because both the defense attorneys had really enormous constitutional right violations, Miranda rights violations in those complaints to the judge. Maybe that's part of the reason why they're being a little quiet right now. The judge already knows their opinion. They wrote it out very, very articulately about why it was an illegal arrest. So the prosecution's making their case why everything they did was above board. Judge Caro at the end of the week will probably have finished hearing the arguments of both sides and make a ruling. More than likely, in my opinion, he'll make that ruling from in written format afterwards. He probably won't make the ruling in the courtroom. He'll probably do it afterwards, after he's given it some thought and figured out how to craft the wording because it's going to be a monumental decision in the case. If Judge Caro rules the way that I think it should be, and I want to argue, maybe even one thinks that based on the arrest, what he saw, it should have been an illegal arrest, in my opinion. If Judge Caro upholds that it was an illegal arrest and tosses some of that information, it'll be a real blow to the prosecution. However, it's not the end of their case by any stretch of the imagination. But we're waiting to see if that happens. Do you guys have any thoughts about the whole thing of Luigi Mangione? I know it's not something we just spent a lot of time on tonight, but do you have thoughts on it at all?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, what you've mentioned, a few times. It's fruits of the poisonous tree that we call it. It's you can't. You may have a situation where you have good police work and whatnot, but the ends don't justify the means. We have a system of laws for a reason. So, your Fourth Amendment right, which guarantees you against illegal search and seizure, is a pretty big right to have. I mean, we're not, police can't just do whatever they want to do. We can't just run around searching people's bags and whatnot. And as we talked about yesterday, in the past, some of the stuff, it's basically, well, this person's word against my word. But now, pretty much, just about everything's going to be caught on body camera. So the officers on scene can say, like, I recognized him and I did this, and that's why I held him and whatnot. Okay, well, if you recognized him from whatever poster or online, whatever it is, you recognized his face, you recognized him. Well, okay, well then at that moment, he should have been placed under arrest, put in handcuffs, and all of his belongings, every single thing he has in his pocket, everything that's in the bag, should have been what we call vouchered, should have been put, and you itemize it, and it should have been what we call an inventory search, and because we have to account for all property that you have, and then while doing the inventory search, I in order to do an inventory search, if I place you under legal arrest, I have to open your bag. So when I open your bag and I find, a brick of cocaine, I find a gun, I find this, I find that. Well, yes, now I can use all that and I can charge you with that because that's not an illegal search. You were under arrest, but.
Yeah, and I feel like, they back. I feel like I'm just trying to understand that they backed themselves in the corner by admitting on the stand. I immediately believed he was the shooter in New York, and yet you continue to tell him he wasn't under. They literally tell him at one point, "You're not under investigation." Like literally saying, on the one hand, I knew he was the shooter from New York, and continuing to question him when you know he's the shooter in New York, according to my words, while lying to him, telling him he's not under investigation. And then tell you somehow that it's still all legal.
Because they're trying to backpedal. They're trying to say, oh, I knew it was him. He was under arrest. Well, what does the body camera show?
Did you see the question? Did you see the question that Jeremy Pearson asked you 1-1 as an officer? Have you ever had to go to trial and be in a courtroom and testify?
Yes. And
how many times? How many times?
Just only a handful of times, and it gets pretty brutal. It gets pretty brutal. I could tell you. I just real not to go through the whole story, but just real quick. I had an incident. Not incident, whatever. I had a job that involved basically it was a robbery, and we had it was actually a group of female, like some kind of like gang teenagers, like robbed this other girl, and we chased down one of the girls, and the girl actually jumped on top of my back, like she I think she was probably like 15 years old, and I literally could have I knew I knew I could subdue her pretty easily. I could have easily thrown her through the glass door that was next to me, but when I went to trial, yeah, I mean, it's amazing. You got to hear like the attorneys. They really try to come at
Like
you from every.
you
They're like,
brutalized her, right?
yeah, they
Yeah.
try to brutalize. Well, you got to hear. So they weren't, and this was before the body cameras, by the way. And they weren't disputing the fact that, okay, yeah, she jumped on your back and this and that. Her what the defense attorney was coming at me with, she was like, well, when she jumped on your back, how many stairs were there? How many steps were there on the when she ran up and she jumped on you? And I'm like, I don't know. It was 5 or 6, and she was basically trying to discredit the fact that because I didn't remember how many steps there were in front of the building when this girl jumped on my back, and the judge basically I got was like, all right, like this is like nonsense, like that has nothing to do with anything, but they'll try
Yeah.
anything, they'll try anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, that's what we have courts of law for. Both sides present the best case they can for why you did something wrong and why it was, and the other side just says why they did it right, and then it's up for a jury usually, sometimes a judge only if you don't have a jury trial, to determine which side of them made the better argument about the case. But thanks for sharing that personal story.
Yeah.
You guys, I think that's probably good for tonight. Did you have anything that either of you, any of you, were chomping at the bit to talk about, something that you saw a creator talk about today that you really wanted to get off your chest, or are you just kind of ready to wrap it up for the evening and call it good?
This is totally off topic, but I know we have talked about the Crime Con, right? It's
Yeah.
in May, correct?
Yeah, in Las Vegas.
And I know Bertie had spoken about it at one point too. We should have our own little crime con. We should get a bunch of the true crime creators together.
Yeah.
And we should find a little, because they're not going to let any people that question official narratives be at the actual crime con. That's just not the way. Clearly, we were there. We saw how it works, but we should try to get a thread going where we get the word out. Lee, you reach out to people behind the scenes, and we try to, rally our own little thing and get, I don't know whether we can do it at rent out a restaurant or a place, whatever, something that it's reasonable that we could pull off with enough people and have our own thing. We have our own little one of the days, our own little crime con type of a situation.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Cool. I love that you brought that up, because we talked about this at one point before, which was that you're right. CrimeCon traditionally, which is a really, really big event, really well attended, is mostly pro law enforcement, pro this is how we got the bad guy. There's very, very little presumption of innocence. The bad people are always bad, and here's how we got them. And there was one good case that Joe and I heard in Aurora, Colorado at CrimeCon this last year that was a wrongful conviction case. But most of the time you don't hear that. It's mostly, here's how we got the bad guy. Here's how we got Brian Koberger. Here's how Autumn Labs got him. We had him in 5 days, all that bullshit. But the point being is that you're right. We talked about this, which is that they don't give room for the dissenting view, for YouTubers like us to take the stage and say, how about let's have a respectful discussion about what if it didn't happen that way? Did you ever give this guy the presumption of innocence until proven guilty? And let's talk about that a little bit. And I think you're right. While it would be hard for us to mobilize on a large scale, I will tell you this. My wife, Rhonda, and I are going to CrimeCon 2026 in Las Vegas. I think it's in May, like you said. We already have tickets. We already have hotel rooms at the Caesars Palace, I think, which is where it's actually being held at this year. I would love to either rent or borrow a conference room for half a dozen people or a dozen people, because I don't think it would be a large thing. If you came to CrimeCon and you're more of a true crime junkie that believes in the presumption of innocence and legal things, I would love to meet you all in Las Vegas. So if you guys communicate with us, I will for sure coordinate that. I'll find a room somewhere. We'll rent a room. We'll get together, even if it's just a small room for an intimate dozen people. I would love that. I think it's a great idea, Joe. I think, and again, CrimeCon itself isn't going to give us that space, but why not meet after one night at a place for the group of us who are like, hey, what about what about the other side of the story? Let's talk about what you, in fact, it'd be a great time for those who are going to CrimeCon to say, what about that bullshit you heard on the stage at CrimeCon? They didn't even talk about this, or this. It would be a great thing. I think it's a great idea, Joe. I think we should do it.
Yeah, you know, you could potentially find a space nearby that's where you could rent it out, you know, like either like a small hall, or a restaurant for a part of the night for a period of time, or something along those lines. I'm sure the den can help out with throwing some ideas together. And get some other content creators, you know, people that we all watch and people that we're familiar with, that we may have open lines of communication with.
Yeah, and the hardest part is getting everybody to agree, because I'd send out invites right now. I'd ask Pavarotti, Atlanta, Truth and Transparency, Phoenix, you know, Phoenix Talks, Birdie, if we can get some of these bigger channels that people know and are familiar with that are covering these cases and get us all together. That'd be cool for us just to talk to each other, much less to have a bunch of people come and hang out and ask questions of all of us in a room. And I think it would be amazing. So, and like people said, like, you know, screw CrimeCon, we'll just do it ourselves. Ultimately, it would be kind of cool if we could mobilize a yearly event that coincides with CrimeCon for those people who don't want to buy the official narrative of everybody's guilty in America and here's how we got them. So anyways, I think that's great for tonight, guys. Thank you so much for coming again and taking time out. Hopefully ST's Crime Maze gets better off of his sickness. Hope you're out there. Maybe he's listening right now, so hope you get better, man. For the rest of you, thank you for choosing us this evening. I know there was other places you could have been, so I appreciate you spending time with us. By the way, I am turning these articles, I'm going to start turning these shows into a Substack article and putting them out the night after we do them. So right after tonight, we're going to translate this into some article format so that you can read it if you missed these kind of shows. Of course, you're here now, so you're like, well, I don't need to read it as well. But point being is that if you ever think you might miss one and you want to get the show notes, that's how we're going to start doing it, is on Substack, kind of a show notes of what we talked about for the night. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. Thank you for our new members. Thank you for those who gifted other people stuff. Thank you, Joe, 11, Robin, for being part of the show as always. And I think that's it for us. Let's have a great night.
I'll see you guys Friday. Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.
Good night, everyone.